trying to do our spooky October Thursdays here for you. And today we are going with something that is not entirely spooky, but I thought felt like it was going to be at least in the right vein for the time here, and that is a Mortician's Tale. So I don't know an awful lot about this game. I know I got it as part of the bundle for Ukraine on itch.io a few months back. And from what I understand, the whole thing is supposed to be something in the neighborhood of kind of a day in the life of a mortician in a very death-positive, educational sort of manner. So I've been kind of looking forward to this, and this seemed like a good opportunity to break it out. So let's see what we can get. I don't know if that's a little too loud or anything, but I think we're going to go ahead and bring it back down a little bit just to be on the safe side. Alright. I have no idea what the control is going to look like, but I guess let's find out. It looks like we have email to check. Hello and welcome to our new funeral director, from Matthew Jeffrey to Charlie. Welcome, Charlie. Nice to meet you. My name's Matthew, and I'm mainly going to be the man who delivers the bodies to you and helps with some of the more heavy lifting. Have you heard that joke about a hearse driver? I'll tell it to you when I come by in a bit. I'm looking forward to working together. Think you'll enjoy working here. Amy's a sweetheart, but she runs a tight ship. Nothing you can't handle, I'm sure. She wouldn't have hired you otherwise. Cheers and good luck, Matthew J., funeral director, Rose and Daughters Funeral Home. From Amy Rose to Rose and Daughter staff, hello everyone. Take this opportunity to introduce our new funeral director, Charlotte, or Charlie as she told me she likes to be referred to. Charlie is a recent graduate who came highly recommended and is eager to begin her career here with us at Rose and Daughters Funeral Home. Please take the time to make Charlie feel at home with our little family. We'll have a nice catered lunch this afternoon so we all get to know each other a little better as well. Isn't that sweet? Charlie, you're new here. First I explain where everything is. Office preparation room, find your cremation station, cremulator station, embalming station, and obviously since you're reading this email, your desk and computer area. I know you have experience working with these stations. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. From Jen Love. I guess my subject lines to you should start being more professional now that we are business professionals. Good luck, you beautiful and smart babe, you. Can't wait to get your reply so I can see your fancy new email signature. I love that you were able to land this gig straight after graduating. It sounds super cool. Didn't even know mom and pop funeral homes were a thing until now. I guess it's just not something I really think that much about. I should look more into this, learn more about your world and industry, because as I said, you are now a very serious professional. Speaking of being a professional, my museum gig is amazing. I can't believe somebody paid me to move to London, and not London, Ontario, serial killer capital of Canada, to work in a museum. Like, take that, everyone who said I couldn't get a job with an art history degree. I'll tell you more about it when we Skype. My stories require you to see my face so that you hear my excellent British accent impersonation. Also, I signed you up for a funeral's monthly newsletter. Consider it your graduation gift. I love you. I'm super proud of you gift. Love you, love you, love you. Janelle. Aww. Alright. Amy, hope you settled in okay so far. Matthew should have dropped off your first body for you to work on. He said you were really friendly, and he's glad to have someone young and lively to work with. You'll get used to his sense of humor, I hope. First body's Miss Garcia, elderly woman who died suddenly of a heart attack. Family has asked for a closed casket funeral, so no embalming or body preparation is necessary. Family seems a little bit more united than previous families we've dealt with. Strange how grief affects people differently. Perhaps having more time to say goodbye makes things a bit easier, if that's possible? That being said, although you will not be embalming Miss Garcia, I do think it's important to take the time to clean her body. No one's going to see her body, but I like to encourage my funeral directors to do this out of respect for the deceased and their loved ones. You'll find Miss Garcia in the prep room. Talk soon. Are special requests for my mother's funeral? No embalming, closed casket. That's totally fair. Alright, all about good etiquette for attending a funeral. Don't be on your cell phone, don't be an asshole. Seems fair, seems fair. Okie dokie. So about Rose and Daughters. Open casket, closed casket, cremation, direct burial, and direct cremation. This is awesome. So, those of you that might also be interested in learning more about the death care industry, I would highly recommend going on YouTube and checking out Ask a Mortician. Caitlin Doty, who is a mortician and I guess a funeral director, currently in California, but from what I understand, getting ready to relocate to the East Coast, is also the creator of the Order of the Good Death. I believe it's orderofthegooddeath.com is her website. And she does some really interesting educational videos about the industry and about kind of, famous deaths and circumstances that would be kind of related to her industry. And they're really fascinating. They've gotten me learning a lot about kind of some of what my choices might end up being come that time. A lot of different options for natural and green burials, water cremations, and things like that. So definitely recommend. Alright, well, let's see how this goes. So, what do we have? Do we have more emails still, or? No, that all still seems the same. Okay. No, it definitely still is acting like it wants me to keep checking the email, which is odd. Oh, right. Sure thing, I'll get right to it. There we go. Okay. This is the prep room where you'll prepare bodies for burials and viewings. We are not going to be doing an embalming. As the family has requested a closed casket ceremony with no embalming, you are just going to clean the body. Click on the sponge and drag it over to the body to clean it. I think the sound effect's a little unnecessarily gruesome, but I suppose that's fair. Of course, trying to be as respectful as possible. That's it, you're done. Mrs. Garcia will be sent to Mike, who will take care of dressing and putting her in the casket. It's time to go to Miss Garcia's funeral. You're responsible for taking care of the deceased body, but it's also important to pay your respects to their loved ones. Follow the arrow to head to the funeral parlor. She would have hated these paintings. She was so particular. She doesn't have to see them, I guess? Yeah, I guess. Is there anything that I can do to change that? I guess not. And the family specifically said no embalming. Thought it was mandatory, like required by law, but I guess not. Embalming weirds me out. Do those chemicals leach into the ground? Seems strange to be using a chemical that is known to cause cancer and putting it into the ground like that. Or into the sewer. That's what they must do with the leftover formaldehyde, right? Just pour it down the drain? At least embalming guarantees you won't be buried alive. I mean, do I get to say anything? I guess I don't get to say anything about that. So, that is absolutely not what they do. It is not legally required, and they do not just pour it down, they do have very strict requirements on disposal. Yep, very much a kid. Also totally fair. Aww. Always important to keep things clean. Jennifer Valentine. That was Jennifer Love. So frustrated right now. Let me explain this in a bit more detail. A colleague and I were discussing the tight lacer's liver specimen we have here at the museum. It's from a woman who died in 1907. The liver is tapered inward from what the doctor leading the autopsy believed was too tight lacing on her corset. It's fascinating because it's kind of a controversial topic. Tight lacing was super popular, and while people associated it with fainting or hysteria, it's actually been associated with visceroptosis, which is when the organs fall to the lower part of the abdomen, right? Which is super unsettling, but can also be caused by being pregnant. So, TLDR, corsets probably messed up some bones, but likely didn't do this kind of internal organ damage. I'm tired of the condescension about my wardrobe that also implies I don't know what I'm doing. The kind of things I'm specifically researching, yet I'm treated like I know nothing about. I'm having a day, Charlie. Oh, Jen, I'm so sorry. So tired of hearing strangers, colleagues, anybody, cough, male colleagues, cough, get on my case for wearing corsets. I wear them under my blazer and over a nice blouse, so it's not like I'm dressing inappropriately. My dress codes are such sexist BS anyway. And I hate how their misogyny gets veiled in faux concern. Jen, I'm just worried you're damaging your body. You know what corsets do to livers, right? Corsets don't do anything to livers. They're definitely not hurting me as much as your condescension is hurting my head. And no, that's absolutely true. A lot of people do the corsets. My wife, Mrs. Badger, would be able to expound on this pretty thoroughly. Aside from the fact that tight lacing was a relatively rare thing, if I'm not mistaken, compared to just the day-to-day wearing of corsets, which was extraordinarily common, it was, yeah, very unlikely to be doing that much damage. Alright, let's see. Mia Garcia, passing this along. Please pass along our deepest thanks to you and your staff for the wonderful job they did with our Miller's funeral. It was really lovely. Our family so rarely gets together. It was nice seeing everyone for a beautiful service. My son never gets to see his family. It was incredibly kind of you to let us bring our own food in. Getting to share home-cooked meals, sharing stories, being there together, it meant a lot. What I'm saying is it was nice for everyone to be there like that, together in that way. And I know how much that was due to the work of your staff, especially your funeral director. Well, it's very sweet. All right, from Matt. I was driving around the other day, taking our clients on their last trip around town, and I was thinking, strange, I know. Did I ever tell you the first time I went to a funeral? I was a teenager, about to start university, and a friend of mine was killed. In a car accident, totally out of the blue. Really tragic stuff, messed me and my friends up real good. But so, the big day, we all got into our best suits and dresses and packed ourselves into a few cars. There were a lot of us, so we had at least 3 different cars full of us, like clown cars, While we were in the procession going to the cemetery, somebody in our car got a phone call from a friend in a different car. Turns out, some asshat driver who doesn't know not to get in the way of a procession drove through the intersection and smashed straight into our friend's car. Oh my god. Nobody was hurt, thank God, but can you imagine getting that call? Anyways, one of my friends in the same car as me, the one who got the phone call, hung up and started laughing. Just laughing her ass off in that way that makes you not sure if they're really just crying or if they've gone fully off the deep end. And she laughed, and then we all started giggling, because, go figure. Life is messed up sometimes, There's no moral, no point to that story, I guess. I just remember that story and wanted to tell you. Because we work with death all the time, and I still sometimes get caught off guard by what that actually means. Now, before you get any ideas, it has nothing to do with why I became funeral director. That decision came totally later and is nothing unremarkable. Somebody has to do it, and I have a strong stomach, so why not? See you in a bit, Charlie. Gallows humor. So, sometimes you can't help but laugh. I was just reminded of a story yesterday about Mrs. Badger's family. Her grandmother, on her father's side, managed to skip her own funeral. So, apparently there was a question of availability of care here in the city where she lived. And she ended up, of course, before she died, while she was being cared for in the hospital, having to be transported to a hospital at another town several hours away. And that's where she ended up passing. And so, with all the arrangements that needed to take place and everything else, there was a funeral held fairly quickly. But there was something about a delay in paperwork, or something about, kind of standard investigations about making sure as an older woman that there wasn't any elder care abuse or anything else that involved in her passing. And so basically, they were not able to get her body transported back in time for the funeral. Now, that whole side of the family was just legendary for their gallows humor to begin with, joking around the bedside table. There was a tradition of Catholicism in the family, and there was, jokes about not getting their last rites too soon because they might still have the opportunity to sin afterward, even being, 90 years old and confined to a bed. But from what I understand, that grandmother also just was very vocal about her dislike of funerals to begin with, so it seemed a fitting tribute to her to manage to avoid hers. Alright, so of course, don't be a dick at a funeral. Well, let's look at some of the traditions. Speaking of the Roman Catholics, they tend to be more formal, black attire rule, and it works for us. This goes back to the days of the Roman Empire. People wore black as a symbol for mourning. Black isn't universally the symbol for mourning, though. If you're attending a funeral that's from a culture that's not your own, it's important to understand this. Some colors have different meanings, and despite your best intentions, the wrong choice could mean accidental offense. For example, in Hinduism and Chinese cultures, white is a typical color for funerals. For Islam, though, it's less about the color you're wearing and more about how modestly you are dressed. Refrain from wearing any elaborate jewelry and be respectful of your behavior. For Sikh funerals, color of the clothing isn't as important as is dressing modestly and being able to appropriately sit cross-legged. Actually, being respectful is just the number one rule for any funeral, no matter what, really. Remember that, and please don't hesitate to ask what is and isn't appropriate to wear. If you're attending to support a friend, family member, or partner, this day is not about you. So, be sure to do whatever you can to be as respectful and supportive as possible, even if that means not wearing what you're used to wearing at a funeral. Or even if it just means asking how you can appropriately show your respects. The last funeral that I attended was of both of my wife's grandparents on the other side passed in the last few years. And neither my wife or I is particularly religious. We're both extremely uncomfortable in churches, and she has some particularly traumatic memories of some of the associations of the church in which we attended that funeral. Both those funerals. And, being respectful in that circumstance was difficult at best. But it's necessary. For everybody else who's also mourning. Alright, remarkable job on the first one. Family very happy. Now, Mr. Duval, an elderly man, died of old age. Nothing fancy. Standard funeral with embalming. Reach out to his daughter, Lizzie, if you have any questions. She's handling her father's passing as well as can be expected. Please remember to wear proper embalming gear. Formaldehyde is extremely dangerous. Aww. Right on top of that, Miss Rose. Okay. Traditional burials typically require embalming, which preserves the body and prevents it from decomposing as quickly. Of course, the entire point is for, when you're not going to be able to get a funeral service right away, when the family wants to be able to hold a memorial service and see the body, the embalming is necessary. Really, it's really for the, the ones that are left behind. Unless, of course, the family requests otherwise, all traditional burials will use embalming. Let's start by cleaning the body. Again, I don't think that the sponge needs to be quite so slurpy. But we are getting something of a accurate representation. We're also being asked to shave the gentleman. Do we really need to do the rest? I guess we do. I'll have to massage the body. And I believe that is usually towards the extremities. I got in the Ask a Mortician channel, Caitlin Doty, had one video where she actually kind of went through this whole process with another funeral director where she kind of played the corpse for it. And they went through bit by bit, and it was kind of impressive to watch it in progress. You know, without actually having to do something as grotesque as seeing an actual dead body. Alright, the eye caps. The glue. Mouth sags and hollows once the body starts decomposing. The sutures, from what I understand, are a bit of a delicate thing, having to do the suturing from the inside and whatnot. Trying to be respectful, so I will be refraining from any jokes along this run. And yes. Alright. Came out of nowhere. I mean, always sort of does, doesn't it? One minute you're laughing, having fun, and the next, poof, person is gone. Just like, gone. It's weird to think about for too long, like staring at the sun. I start to feel all fuzzy when I think about it. So weird. Our bodies just stop working like that. Yeah. Yeah. So strange not seeing most people wearing white. White? I think it's different for different family members. I can't remember. I haven't gone to many traditional funerals. So mostly white, but like definitely not red, no matter what. He always wanted to take his grandkids to the park, play catch. He loved playing catch. Threw a mean curveball, that's for sure. And we are preparing the cremation. If you've been a long-time subscriber to our emails or follow us on social media, you've no doubt heard about the misgendering that transgender people are at times subjected to during their funerals. There have been notable situations where trans women have had their wishes overruled by their families and have had their hair cut or buried under the wrong names or subjected to the wrong pronouns in their obituary announcements. We care a lot about this because we believe in treating every person with the same level of compassion, respect, and care, and this absolutely extends to pronouns and respecting the deceased's wishes as per their lived experiences. The CDC's Funeral Director's Handbook on Death Registration and Fetal Death Reporting offers the fraught directive: enter male or female based on observation. Do not abbreviate or use other symbols. If sex cannot be determined after verification with medical records, inspection of the body, or other sources, enter unknown. Do not leave this item blank. Leaving it up to observation obviously enters into a world of issues since bodies can be so different, and because of ingrained bias, people can draw incorrect assumptions based on their own inaccurate observations. California has passed what is known as the Respect After Death Act, which states that the death certificate must reflect the deceased's gender identity as they lived it. So, a step in the right direction. People who are trans deserve the same respect in death that people who are cisgender receive. Misgendering in death takes away this respect. It can also inflict hurt and trauma on spouses and friends that survive the deceased. So, what can we do as funeral directors? Listen to the people who come into your office. In America especially, some marriages may not be recognized as legal depending on the laws around same-sex marriage, but this doesn't mean you're not dealing with two people who have loved each other in the same way as another couple. Listen, learn, and always be respectful. While you have to work with the next of kin, your duty is also to ensure the deceased receives the utmost respect in their burial. If a funeral is to honor the deceased, then do that. Honor them. I'm really glad to see this, and this makes me very happy to have ended up playing this game, as that's a very important thing. If there's anything that I've learned from a lot of my LGBTQ and queer friends, it's that y'all make out your wills. Like, get your wishes known and witnessed and notarized. Get it out there legally. Do your final directives, your advance directives, your wills, all that stuff. Because it's a touchy thing, legally speaking. It's great that a lot of people out there, you know, again, I know Caitlin Doty is a huge supporter of the Respect After Death Act. And I know that this is a big thing for a lot of folks that, you know, trans folks especially have had to deal with this kind of bullshit of having their wishes fulfilled after death, because there are relationships that are not legally recognized, and so next of kin is the legal go-to, and if they've fallen out of touch with a family that doesn't respect their wishes, respect them for who they are, then these kind of decisions can be made beyond the control of the funeral directors. And of course, the surviving family who is actually there to actually care about the people as they were. So, extraordinarily important that y'all make sure that you're taken care of in these respects. And it's extraordinarily important to make sure that the people around you are, you know, make sure that there is an advocate, make sure the voices are heard. All right, moving on from that beautiful and sort of devastatingly real thing, let's go back to Matthew. Don't like the look of this, not one bit. I know you've only been with us for a few months. Maybe you're aware of the trouble Amy's been having. Small mom and pop shop like Rose and Daughters can't compete with the bigger guys. Anyway, don't tell Amy I sent this to you. Also, I'm starving, so I'm going to grab some fast food before taking the hearse through the car wash. 2 birds, 1 stone, and swinging back to the home. You want anything? Beef and cheddar? This stream not sponsored by Arby's? I'm going to take the hearse through the drive-thru, of course. Freaks people out. I love it. They get so awkward. Let me know I'm heading out in 15 minutes. Matthew. God, that's heartbreaking. And yeah, it's just like in any industry, a lot of the mom and pop organizations are struggling. in the wake of bigger businesses. And, you know, bigger businesses have their place. It's understandable. People need the kind of resource availability that bigger businesses can provide. But, of course, we have cut regulations and allowed for near monopolies in so many different situations. And, you know, mom and pop industries just can't afford to compete in a lot of cases. And it's unfortunate because there's also a lot of mom and pop industries out there, especially, or, you know, businesses out there, especially in things like the restaurant industry, that have that kind of corporate mentality that kind of turns around and passes that buck on to, you know, hiring people and then not paying them well. And that's where we get a lot of the hiring shortage in the service industry that we're getting right now. It's not people that don't want to work. It's, you know, basically people that can't afford to pay them and think that somehow that makes it acceptable to cut that corner because they can't cut corners anywhere else on any of their other resources. You know, a restaurant can't not buy food and can't not, you know, pay the gas and electric bill and can't not pay their distributors and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, they can pay servers less because servers need jobs and can't really necessarily afford to fight to get something better. So it's really unfortunate to see things like that, and that's why you see so many small mom and pop businesses that are only family run or, you know, only one or two people because they can't pay anybody else. And so we have to remember that the problem is coming from up, not down. You know, this is not the workers, this is not the impoverished people that are causing these issues. These are decisions made at the top, and it's a shame to see. Especially in an industry like this, where it's clear that, you know, you get into this industry because you care about people and you want to do the right thing. Alright, we're back to Gen Love. Charlie, I was doing some reading. I know, you hate when I try to give you dating advice, but hear me out. Here's this dating site that's specifically for people working in the death industry. Okay, so maybe I'm a little worried for you. You haven't mentioned anybody new since the breakup of 2014 that we will never speak of again after this moment. I believe this was supposed to be 2017, this is set in. But you're always saying I'm tired you get of people being scared to ask about your day, so maybe meeting somebody in the industry isn't the worst idea? Just promise me you'll consider it, okay? It's harder for me to make sure that you're seeing sunlight when I'm all the way across the ocean. I know you look like a babe with pale skin and witchy gothy aesthetics are super hot right now, but vitamin D is still a good thing. Mom rant over. Going to try it out because it turns out people get super scared off when you tell them you work in a museum filled with dead bodies. Do you know how not interesting other people find teratomas? Charlie, I didn't know we were this weird outside people. I've been spoiled by having a best friend who's as much of a weirdo as I am. Miss you. Let's grab a bottle of wine for our next Skype date. P.S. If you sign up for Dead Meat, isn't that the best name for a death industry dating website? Tinder rules apply. You have to like me if you come across my profile or whatever. Not sure how it works just yet, though. Aw. Alright. Lovely thank you note. Hi Amy, thank you for the wonderful evening and your staff put together for my father's funeral. Wasn't always an easy man to get along with, but I'm glad to have seen him off in such a kind way. Well, that's good. Alright, standard cremation for a woman unnamed at this point who died from breast cancer. Alright, Amy, I'm on it. Mrs. Hall. Let us prepare her body. Clothing and jewelry to wear. But these need to be removed before the cremation process can happen, so as not to damage them. That's all it took, huh? Not actually removing the, okie dokie. Ashes to ashes and all. So, cremation is, something that I had often considered back in my high school freshman art class. We had to do a 3D project, and I made a small box out of coffin, into a coffin, you know, clay sculpting and having to do good seams and having to make an interlocking lid, all part of the project. And so I have a coffin that's probably about 8 inches long or so, maybe about 4 inches high. And I always used to joke that I wanted to be cremated and buried in my tiny little coffin, which, you know, who knows, maybe still it may happen. But one of the things, as it points out, you know, contrary to popular belief, cremation doesn't turn bodies into ash so much as bone fragments, and that's largely what it is. The other matter tends to get annihilated, and it's largely just the bone fragments that break down. It does spew a whole bunch of shit into the air, though, and so there's, you know, a lot of folks out there that are kind of concerned about that being an environmental hazard, which is why one of the options has become, what were they calling it? I think it was like sublimation, but basically they do like a water cremation where you get dissolved, basically, rather than incinerated, which seems like it could be a very interesting way to go. I also like the ones where they now have it where you get turned into either feed or mulch as green burials. Not just the, like, you know, planting a tree sort of thing, but actually just into, you know, again, feed for wild animals, or just, you know, straight up, like, sort of looking for organic matter to be spread harmlessly and even beneficially into places. Alright, and the cremulator. Okay. This is nice in a weird way. She'd like that we're all here talking. She always tried to keep the family together. Food is delicious. I know that's weird, but these crab cakes are perfect. Hey, it's not weird. Food is a social bonding experience. You'll always find food when it comes to a family gathering, no matter how positive or negative the experience might be. And yeah, cremation can be a choice for the deceased, whether it's to kind of simplify things and maybe you know, cut down on costs a little bit, because it does tend to be cheaper than other preservation options, but it also can make things easier for the family sometimes. Sometimes they don't get the closure, but sometimes it's, yeah, stops them from remembering their loved one in a advanced state of you know, illness or clearly looking dead. Yeah. And I wish that was some instructions that I could have known and actually had something to do with in this game. That might be one of my... I kind of appreciate that it's not gamifying things, that it doesn't, you know, seem frenetic and fast-paced, and I could fail it like, you know, most of the simulator games would be, but it also makes it a little sad for me that I can't, you know, kind of pick up on some of those details and make those arrangements. Alright, here we go. Keep on protecting Earth with green burials. You've lived your life mindful of the environment, doing your part to reduce pollution and generally help out where you can, so why not continue doing that even in death? At least that's the thinking for a lot of people who are turning to green or natural burials. Natural cemeteries are becoming more popular and are focused on a few rules. Mainly that bodies aren't allowed to be embalmed with chemicals that can damage the environment, bodies must be buried in a biodegradable shroud or casket. Not only is this better for the environment, it's also cheaper. At Union Cemetery in Ontario, Canada, a natural burial is just over $1,000. So, better for the people, the environment, just maybe not so good for big business. Not forget, people, this is still a business after all. But really, why go green? Green burials help preserve natural resources, work to reduce carbon emissions, protect the health of those preparing bodies, and restore and preserve natural habitats. Embalming fluids tend to contain formaldehyde, and funeral directors report a higher incidence of leukemia. Going green and not using toxic chemicals for embalming helps protect funeral directors while at the same time lessening the impact we have on the environment after we're gone. We here at Funerals Monthly think green burials are pretty cool. What do you think? Reply and let us know. I think it's fantastic. Charlie, I've been playing a new game when things are slow at work. It's called Tales from the Crypt Sweeper. Get it? Get it? It's like Minesweeper, but way harder. Like seriously, it's really, really difficult. And I thought my Minesweeper game was on point after working that overnight front desk job at the hotel for 3 years, but I must have gotten rusty. Anyway, instead of mines, you want to avoid graves so you don't disturb the adorable ghosts. The main character also kind of looks like you. Want to start a healthy competition? High scorer gets to pick the restaurant we go to when one of us is in town next. Aw, I love that. Alright, I thought I would forward this to you. In situations like this, we typically connect people like Ryan with a grief counselor or other professionals who can really help him. Sometimes we get emails like this and people don't know where else to turn. It's difficult and family isn't always the most reliable for some people. Usually I would be happy to connect him, but I'm feeling a little tired today, not my usual self. And it would be good for you to start building these kinds of relationships on your own. You're a treasure, Charlie. Okay, Ryan. I know this email might be a bit odd, but you said if I was ever having troubles, I should reach out and you would know somebody I could talk to about all of this. I don't know what to do now. I know my grandmother had lived a full good life and was very happy, but that she's not in pain anymore, but I feel empty, Amy. I've never felt this empty before. What am I supposed to do now? I thought I was stronger than this. Can you refer me to someone to talk to? I don't want to freak out my mom right now. She's dealing with enough, with work and the will, and trying to just be the best mom she can. I just need somebody to tell me that it'll be okay. Thank you, and I'm sorry for being an inconvenience. Oh, Ryan. Alright. From Margareta Hall. I'm so eternally grateful you were able to accommodate our request for my sister's funeral. It's a beautiful service. She would have been happy with it. Such a weird thing to say, isn't it? Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Goodness. It's with a very heavy heart that I write to let you all know that Rose and Daughters will no longer be in business. I had no idea how to start this email, and resources I Googled told me that would be the best and easiest way to break the ice. Be direct, but remorseful, Google said. Truth is, I don't really know what to say. Since my father passed away, I've done my best to make Rose and Daughters warm and friendly to anyone who chose to use our services. It was my memorial to him, the original Rose, in a lot of ways. And you've all become like family, including you, Charlie, our most recent addition. But it's been getting harder to make ends meet. Rent is going up in the neighborhood, and I'm finding less and less like I have the energy for this business. There's a lot of competition from other funeral homes, larger corporations than we are that can take on more business and offer more impressive services. You know the way it goes. So we've been bought. Or I sold. Either way, soon, Hillside Heritage Enterprises, Inc., a company that owns many funeral homes in the city and across the country, will replace Rose and Daughters starting from the beginning of next month. Same building, same name. They're keeping the name Rose and Daughters Funeral Home for tax purposes. Though honestly, I'm trying hard not to just see it as a move on their part to keep up the image. It's a family-run business. I don't know how I feel about that, but I also don't know if there's anything I can do at this point either. I've signed the papers. At least my father's legacy is still intact somewhat. They have a good reputation and have agreed to keep you all on. That was one of my stipulations. I would sell as long as you all weren't without a job. Sorry I didn't tell you in a more personal way. I would have loved to have a company lunch, but admittedly, I didn't have the heart to tell you in person. This was easier for me, please understand. Sincerely, Amy Rose, founder and director. Wow, really didn't expect this to be a game of this magnitude, but oh my god. Oh, and we do have the game here. Well, that's good. We're going to play that after this. So we have a cremation with a pacemaker. Just okay. Well, let's see what Tales from the Crypt Sweeper has for us. Okay, I don't know what the triangles mean. This acts like there are 4 connected here, but there can't be because there's only one that it's touching. And 4 there. Yeah, no, this is... and ghosts. This is going to be much harder. Oh my goodness. It's like I'm assuming this would be one. But yeah, this is not going to nope, oops. Not gonna be playable. Alright. Mr. Reyes came directly from the hospital, so we don't have to worry about removing any valuables from him. His family did not provide any for us to include. He does have a pacemaker that we'll need to remove before creation. Because pacemakers are batteries that will explode inside the hot heat of the cremation machine. We definitely don't want that. Start by removing Mr. Reyes' pacemaker. Click and drag the scalpel over the heart to make an incision. See the pacemaker. Click on the forceps to click and drag the pacemaker out of the heart. Did you ever end up clearing the air with your father? No, we talked a few times, but no, not really. He sounded like a difficult man. He was stubborn. It's just it. Stubborn. I understand. What do I do after this? Pretty nice out. Let's change and go find a patio somewhere. Use a good beer right now. Yeah. Wonder if he ever liked me. He was nice to me, but I don't know. Never seemed like he really cared if I was there or not. God, that's heartbreaking. I always told him to quit smoking. Of course, he never listened to me, so that figures. Wouldn't have changed anything, kid. Yeah. These are good suggestions, things to not say at a funeral. At least they're no longer suffering. Who knows? Who knows that they were? Were they saved and they're with the angels now? Yeah, keep your religion out of it. I'm gonna skip down to I know how you feel. No, you don't. You can commiserate. You can say you two have felt something similar, but you don't know how somebody else feels. But yeah, more importantly, it's not about you. Let me know how I can help. I appreciate that they point that out and that they point out how tricky that is. That's somewhere where I'm always finding myself floundering in situations like this. I want to be helpful. I want to offer, you know, whatever I can do, rides and places to go and nourishing soups and, you know, whatever support I can, but I never know if I'm the right person to offer the right, you know, specific things and what I'm actually in a place to offer, and it's hard, but just do what you can to be supportive. Alright. You hate mushrooms so much, I found the perfect thing for you. I have been thinking about death. I know, shocker, look what you've done to me. I think I want this mushroom suit. No, it's not called that, but I can't remember the name of it, and I'm writing you on my phone, so I don't feel like Googling it right now. Anyways, the idea is that it's a biodegradable suit that the deceased wears. It's made with what people call a biomix, i.e. mushrooms and other microorganisms that help to decompose bodies, neutralize toxins in the body, and provide nutrients for the soil for plants. I think this one company even offers casket liners for use in green caskets. I think this is what I want. It'll be just like Hannibal. Wait, don't tell people I said that, okay? But seriously, it's pretty cool. I love all the death innovation happening. Might as well do something when we're in the ground, you know? Love you. Think about it, let me know your thoughts. I want all your thoughts. If it's not this, then maybe I'll have my ashes made into jewelry. But seriously, I'm probably going to do this. There's no harm in planning ahead, am I right? That's absolutely right. Apologies for the abrupt nature of this one, but thank you. Yeah. Okay, so this one is the same most of the time. Okay. Okay. Charlie, I was hoping you wouldn't have to confront the situation. Yet, anyways, they're never easy. Rose and daughters have been asked to prepare the body of a young man who took his own life. He had a will prepared and asked for cremation, but the families demanded a traditional burial instead. Unfortunately, he didn't make anyone his power of attorney or didn't have any witnesses sign his living will or his advance directive regarding these wishes, so his family is legally in the right to do whatever they want with his body. It's unfortunate, but we have to do as his family wishes. Matthew has graciously offered to take this on if you're uncomfortable with the subject. Instead, we have a second body you can prepare for a funeral we're hosting later this afternoon. Yeah. I want to do the right thing. I am... No. Nope, 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 nope. Fuck that family. Just can't even right now. An open casket funeral for this deceased person. Mrs. Rossi. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, fuck you, Ansandi. Jesus. So this was a very unhappy open casket. Good. Different funeral traditions. Funerals monthly. Funeral rites, even in our own culture, may be something many of us may be unfamiliar with. For many people, all they know of funeral traditions are what they've seen in media. But, and I think this goes without saying, funeral rites and traditions aren't the same across the board. Different cultures have different protocols for cleaning the body to different aspects of the service itself. Religion provides different paths for dealing with the death, but the goal is almost always the same: offering support, guidance, and ease to the people who are grieving. In Judaism, interment usually begins immediately after someone has passed. Up until burial, the body is never supposed to be alone, so often families will appoint I'm assuming it's shomer, a guardian, to remain with the body. Preparations for burial begin as soon as possible in Muslim traditions as well. Local Islamic community organizations are also often involved and help the family make arrangements for the funeral service and burial. But not all practices are strictly religiously focused. In the aughts, in South Korea, the amount of graveyard space began to shrink drastically, causing a law to be passed that required families to remove a loved one's body from its burial place after 60 years. Many families began to cremate more often. But there are also companies that compress remains into beads in turquoise, pink, or black called death beads. This also occurs in North America, Europe, and Japan, but remains much more common in South Korea because of the space issue in graveyards and the expenses of cremation. Not all practices are somber either. Ever hear of the turning of the bones, or Famadiana, a ritual by the Malagasy people of Madagascar? Famadiana, as families return to an ancestral crypt, exhume the bodies wrapped in cloth before dancing with the bodies to lively music. This practice is celebration, remembrance, and way of keeping the deceased involved in family news. Death can be a difficult time for many people, obviously, but that doesn't mean that there isn't beauty in the ways we choose to honor and celebrate our deceased. Alright, Jen, what do you got for me? Can't really write much right now. Have a lot of work I have to do with an inguinal hernia from 1750. It's the oldest in our collection, and you can even see this bit of paper the surgeon put in after removing the hernia. Super cool. Send me the link when we have it cataloged. What is my life? What is the sentence I just typed? But anyway, this event that I'm forwarding you is taking place near you. Figured you'd be into it. Might help with that feeling of restlessness you were talking about before. Could be good to talk about some of the things you're feeling. Lots of death-positive people there. Sounds like it'll be a safe space. So come increase awareness of death with a view to helping people make the most of their finite lives. Join us, have a tea and cake, and talk with others about our thoughts, fears, and illuminations on death. Founder of the Death Cafe movement, John Underwood, once said, "When people talk about death and dying, it tends to illustrate their humanity." See you at the Upside Down Jar next Thursday. Nice. Alright. Can I just say first off, this is bullcrap. And knowing how these corporations run, I wouldn't be surprised if they're monitoring our emails now. No, okay, I don't really believe that. I'm just upset. I mean, you should. They could be. I get that Amy didn't have much of a choice. You can only fight a huge corporation taking all of your business for so long. This isn't 6 feet under. And they just swooped in, and now we have to deal with their BS practices. Colder than the corpse I picked up from the morgue this morning. Who charges this much for funerals? It feels dirty and exploitive. Let's grab a drink after work. I need to blow off some steam, and emails aren't really the most appropriate place to do this. Too late for me, I guess. So, let's see. Good God. Additional fees and taxes instead of all-inclusive, not being very forthcoming about it, and packages based on the size of the funeral instead of the, and an intimate gathering for 25 to 50 people. Fuck. That's just gross. Guys, I want to apologize here as well. I should have... I mean, I hope it was kind of clear from the get-go that there might have been a need for a content warning here. I'm going to try to remember to put that up on my, my VOD after the fact here. Chad. Pleased to bring on Rose and Daughters. Another institution among hundreds of properties owned across the country. You know, it's also a problem I'm running into with my job search these days. That kind of lack of mom-pop local stuff. I do IT, mostly, and, it almost seems like there's no such thing as a company that just needs an IT guy anymore. Every company contracts out to some sort of managed services group that is so proud of running their, multinational corporation of tens of thousands of people and hundreds and thousands of businesses that they support, and it's all fast-paced, growth-oriented, and it's like, kind of sucks, and it cuts down on options. But of course there will be a number of changes. There will always be a number of changes. And we have gone from Charlie to Charlotte. And proper evaluations. Ouch. Alright, cremation for Jocelyn Ionesco. And of course, regardless of Chad, we do it right. Guess we take care of Miss Ionesco. Oh, right. Helps if we do that first, doesn't it? Matthew is taking it in. We are still going to go and pay our respects. Busy. The appeal of a home funeral is apparent for many, especially if the deceased was somebody very close to you. The idea of keeping them at home until they're ready to be buried or cremated can be comforting. It wasn't that long ago that we were taking care of our own deceased, but nowadays people are quick to pass off their loved ones to a funeral home. Most families aren't given the option and assume this is mandatory. Funeral homes will almost always prepare the deceased using embalming and other methods to make them appear more alive, but isn't this process counterintuitive to the grieving process? Being around the deceased allows the bereaved to spend a longer period of time with their loved one's body, which can help them mourn or give opportunities to family members and friends to see the deceased one last time before they're taken to be buried or cremated. The idea of keeping the deceased's body at home might sound gross, but it's important to understand that decomposition takes a long time, and you can further slow this process by keeping your home cool and dry. To be around your loved ones and to see them decay naturally is an important part of the grieving process. Home funerals aren't just more intimate, but they're economical. A traditional funeral, complete with body preparation, service, flowers, cards, and many other hidden costs and fees, can cost upwards of $7,000 to $10,000. When you're able to take care of your loved one yourself, to wash and dress them, and to organize their viewing from home, the only cost remaining is entirely in the cremation or burial itself. However, it's important to understand the different rules apply given on what state you live in. In all states, it's legal to have your loved one's body at home after they die. States like Alabama, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Nebraska, New Jersey, and New York require a funeral director's involvement, from signing the death certificate to overseeing burial or cremation. If this is a route you decide to go for yourself or your loved ones, make sure you follow everything by the book. But just know this may be an option available to you and your loved ones if you so choose. Alright, give me just a few moments here, folks. Okay, thanks, folks. Oh my goodness. Is it still the same? Yeah. Alright, this ought to be good. Hello, Charlotte. I've reviewed your request on behalf of a potential family inquiring if we at Hillside Heritage Enterprises can and will perform green burials. I should have informed you of this in the beginning, but we do not perform green burial funerals as they are not cost effective. Fuck you. All employees and subsidiaries of Hillside Heritage must comply. We do not wish to lose potential customers, though, so do try your hardest to convince the families requesting green burials. Instead, choose a traditional burial package. Nope. New rules and code of conduct. Uniform and dress code. No tattoos. Upsell. Jesus, this is disgusting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep going on this. No food because they have to buy ahead. Yeah, this is disgusting. I need a drink too. And mozzarella sticks. Mozzarella sticks are delightful. I guess I have to take care of it. Doesn't seem to have any valuables on him that would be damaged during cremation, so let's worry about putting his identification tag in the coffin with him. If we don't know anything about him, I'm concerned about anything like a pacemaker. God, I hope this doesn't get awful. More awful. Yes, I'm trying, thank you. Somebody will still pay respects. Well, it's disgusting that they're so heavily monetizing the thing. It's good that we're still paying the respects. I like that. Uh-oh. I'm out of dress code. Can't wait for fucking Chad to have a problem. Water cremations. See, here we go. We can call it a few different things, like flameless cremation, a bit of an oxymoron, but let it slide, or perhaps more commonly, resomation. Its technical name, though, is actually alkaline hydrolysis. Whatever we want to call it, it's here and it's an environmentally friendly alternative to traditional cremation. For the sake of this newsletter, let's call it water cremation. We all know that the traditional cremation and burials take a huge toll on the environment, high energy consumption that adds to the greenhouse gas effect being one of the chief amongst them. And water cremation is an alternative method available for the eco-conscious amongst us. How does it work? Well, it's basically a water-based chemical process that uses really strong alkali in water heated up very high. Basically works like a sped-up version of natural decomposition. The excess water gets put through the same water treatment process as any sewage water at a factory, and alkaline hydrolysis uses significantly less energy than traditional cremation process. Neat, huh? Been around for a bit, and some places became legal around the end of the first decade of the aughts. Not a bad alternative for those who don't want their death to have any greater impact on the environment than necessary. Haha. Oh, that's great. The webpage is gone. Okay. Oh my. Jen is dating a special effects makeup artist, and she's like the coolest person I've ever met in my life. Totally loves Ava's possession, and was equally freaked out by the possession scenes, but so utterly delighted at the idea of a support group of people who have been possessed. That was your best recommendation in a while, Charlie. You were slipping there. I was getting worried you had lost your taste. Yeah, her name is Lily, and she's super death positive and isn't freaked out by my work, and also isn't too into it like the last dude I saw. Jason, Michael, God, I can't remember. I just really like spending time around her. I can talk about whatever I want, it's never a conversation stopper. She also totally gets what I mean when I say that, like, working with death and spending so much time thinking about death actually makes me happier. It makes everything else feel so much more worth it, you know? Memento mori, or whatever they taught us in that one poetry class we took. We just clicked. Feels good. Fun and affirming, like dating should be. Thinking of taking her to Maple Meadows. She's super into roller coasters, and I think the idea of sharing cotton candy, or maybe not, I don't want to throw up on the rides, is sickeningly cute. Then, Maybe I'll kiss her on top of a Ferris wheel. It'll be super corny and cliche for once in my life. Anywho, enough about me for now. Still kind of in shock from your last email. Do you think you're gonna do it? You know you have my support 100% no matter what you decide. Darla, it's official. I put in my 2 weeks notice. You know how unhappy I am working for Mega Corporation 101. My skills, especially my driving ones, are useful in other professions. I'm not worried about myself. You I am worried about. You're too good for this corporate scum. You actually care about the people you work with and for. Don't let them defeat you, okay? Bring beers over next week. Alright. I signed a new fucking contract. Morning Valley Hospital. Allowing us access to only cadavers that come through their pediatric and maternity wards. Gross. Alright, Kofi Dumka. I still prefer to host a home funeral and keep my wife here until she's ready to be buried. Heart attack was so sudden I don't know what to do. I understand your desire to keep your wife at home, but I assure you the best way to honor your wife is through a traditional funeral package instead. You fucking bullshit, you fucking cocksucker. Mm-hmm. God damn it. And no, I won't get right to it. Fucking God, this is gross, y'all. I absolutely hate the idea of doing this kind of business in anything else. Or any other realm of, industry. The idea of doing it in a funeral industry. People's loved ones. I can't tell you how much I hate the idea that, business is business no matter what. God, I want to at least not do the embalming. Oh, I hate this so much. And we have our visit from the puppy, who's clearly trying to comfort me. Hi, Bob.
Alright, let's go.
don't know how Mike's going to take care of it. I guess he's still within his 2 weeks, huh? This ought to be depressing. Clearly not meant to make anybody comfortable in here. Feels so impersonal. She would have hated this. Must have had the reasons. Feel bad not doing what Mom asked for. Chad seemed right. Don't want to dishonor her memory. And so they didn't get closure they needed. They're disrespecting wishes. God, it's so... Now, how long is it going to make this go on? Oh? What? What am I missing? Congratulations on your new business. Yay! Charlie, I'm so happy for you. I know it's been a rough year for you. Seriously, I think our wine intake saw a bazillion% increase, but you've stuck through it all like a champ. You deserve this. Finally being your own boss is a great move for you. No more having to explain anything you don't want to do. Try not to be too cheesy right now. Can't wait to be home next week for our visit and check out your new space. Have you heard about the green burial pods? I'll find the link in my 1 million open tabs. I'll shoot it over to you. Matthew. Hey, Charlie. When I first became a hearse driver, I was told that my most important job wasn't steering. It was sympathizing. I respectfully disagree. And thankfully, I concentrated on my driving skills since now I'm working as a, wait for it, a bus driver. A school bus driver, Charlie. Can you believe that? Pretty sure if I said the most important part of my job now wasn't steering, I'd be fired immediately. I didn't know how else to tell you. For some reason I was worried you'd think less of me, but I don't know why. You've never been the judgmental kind. Besides, corpses are way easier to deal with than children. Screaming children, might I add. I actually love it. These kids can be pretty cute, but don't tell Amy that I told you that. She was always harping on me for not having any kids and being all cynical about them. Congrats on your new business, Charlie. I'm proud of you. I'll swing by your new place one day and show you my new wheels. Maybe we can grab a bite to eat. Be seeing ya. Magnolia Forest. Funeral home and natural burial park. Home burial, green burial, and direct cremation. Infants at no charge. Jesus. This is beautiful. When you do it in love and comfort your own home, be present during the cremation, bury them in our natural cemetery, here to work with you and provide these simple but intimate, meaningful options. Bodies of all sizes and ages, as well as beloved pets. Families can bury their loved ones themselves if they so choose. It's beautiful. Way to go, Charlie. This hurts. I thought it'd be easier, but it's not. It hurts so much, but thank you for helping me give her the funeral she always wanted. Yeah, I think we're ready to get started now. There we go. That was heartbreaking and gorgeous. Special thanks, the Order of the Good Death. Perfect. Caitlin Doty. There you go. I'm sure so many of these other people are wonderful people to have been involved in this as well. Including their pets, which is very important. With support from the Ontario Arts Council. That's good to see. So yeah, that was beautiful and heartbreaking. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv/badger597.